What is up, everyone? So in this video I'm going to teach you how to, or show you how to repair a Stihl Combi unit that when you try to put any attachment on there, it might work a little bit, maybe even for a second or two. But in this case, I have a weed eater attachment somewhere around here. You turn it on, plug it in, it spins, you try to use it, it stops. It's like there's no power. First thing I checked was the clutch. Seemed to be running fine. I made sure it was installed correctly. It was. So then I started to think maybe maybe something else was going on with the clutch. So I started taking off the bolts and then took off the handle. And look, I don't know if you can tell, that's supposed to be a square and it's not. That fits into a little slot in the clutch, or at least in the housing, and it's supposed to spin. Well, when it's damaged like that, you're really not going to be able to do too much. So I want to make sure that it didn't damage both the housing and the cable. Hopefully it's just the cable, or if it is, we might have to get a new whole lot of stuff. But let's take a look. So you have to take this out. This surrounds it. It's in here. There's also a bolt somewhere that supposed to capture it. So, and then on top of that, there's a little clip. That's why you had to take out this, unless you have something that can reach down far enough in there. Hopefully that should be enough to kind of allow us to press out the housing there. So I'm going to go ahead and get that pressed out. It might require a little persuasion, so I'm going to turn you off so you don't go shaking. Before I go pounding on anything, there are these locating excuse me, pins. And I decided just to look down and see if I can tell. It's a little dark, but I was able to kind of look. If you look through this end, it looks perfectly square. This end, however, is more of a squarish oval. So that tells me this is bad. It was egged out. Must have hit something hard. So what do? Well, pretty much the only thing you can do is to get a new one. This whole assembly is, I found one for about $69. Comes with everything you need except for this, which I don't remember how much that is, but it's not too expensive. If I remember, it's like 18, 19 bucks. So $90, but that also does not include this. So you're really kind of in a creek of a certain type. So what do? Well, replace that. $90. I could repair this. In fact, if the owner wants me to repair this, I'll show you how to do so. That's not really the problem. The problem is really this piece right here. So unfortunately, if you're having this problem, then check these pieces. You most likely have this problem itself. If you don't, and you have everything looks fine, then majority of the time this is slipping. There's friction material on the outside, and it will begin to slip if it starts to get worn out. Now you can also have maybe oil got in here. Perhaps there's a thick groove and it's just causing it to be slick. You know, there's a couple things, so I would check the condition, but almost every single time is because that was egged out. You can't really do too much with that except to replace it. You can buy, if you want to take it apart, just the drum, and then you press it out like we were going to. Oh man, that took forever. But I talked to the owner and I told him 3 options. 1, replace pretty much everything. The shaft, the clutch drum, all that. Clutch seems to be fine, I'm not going to be too worried about it. Or, we at the very least need to replace the drum. And you'd be surprised how hard it is just to locate this. I mean, usually it just comes in a whole assembly. That, brand new, is $70. A little rough. Or don't do anything. Now, I also gave him the option is I could attempt to repair the end of the shaft, which we're going to do next. That's what he opted for. Wouldn't recommend it, but that's what he opted for. So he chose to get a used one. Used one was about $20 on eBay. If you look at it, it's rusted, but it's square. So that's what we really need. Square. Not that bad. Yeah, it's a little worse on the wear on the outside, but in comparison to the one that came off, it's really not all that bad. So we're going to pop that one off, pop that one on. That should at least take care of this problem. So we're going to take care of the next problem. I kind of got lucky. So when I was looking at it earlier, I saw some rounding, which there is, don't get me wrong, but it's at the tip. So I think this was shoved in there the wrong way. Once you get like a little under 1/4 of an inch out, it's all square. So I really don't think this is going to be necessary. But let me explain to you what I would have done. What I would have done was I would have taken a 1/16 wire from a filler wire from a TIG setup, and plain steel, everything's normal, put it on some ridiculously low amperage, like 25, 30, and I would have just put beads or even tacks even on the corners where it was rounded, trying not to mess with the top. That way I know the thickness it has to be, because if you mess with that, then you're just walking up a hill that you don't really need to. It's just a whole lot more work. At the end of it, you take something, flap disc, high grit is usually what I like to use, and square it back up. It's not going to be a perfect square, but I don't really think it was perfect to begin with. You do that on all of the rounded corners. That's only if it's all the way down. With it just being the tip, I'm not too worried about that. So I've contacted the owner. He said, don't worry about it. If it's mostly there, I would rather not take that chance. If it does get worse, I'll bring it back. Okay, sounds good to me. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put this back in, which if you were not aware, it just has this little plastic clip on the other end. You push it in, the whole rod comes right out. And at that point, we will go ahead and see if that new clutch drum cured our problem. Now that we have it all done and put together, let's give it a pull. If you remember, it would kind of run, but not really. Maybe for a quick second, and that would be it, especially under load. I think the machine shifted when I was tightening it up a little bit. Let's see if that helps a little bit, because it was a little fast there. Before I wouldn't even do that. So I'm pretty happy with it. For a final test, I'm going to take it to some mild grassy weeds, technically I guess is what it's considered. Maybe do a little edging, stuff like that. And if I notice a severe decrease in power, we'll look into it further, but I wouldn't suspect so. Like I said, the rounding on the interior piece in the shaft is very minor, just on the edge, and the big part, I mean it's just like a circle in there. There's really no squareness left over. It's a little hard to tell because of the lighting, but it's pretty good. I'm not worried one bit, but I'm going to leave you at that. If you like what you see, keep on watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at Small Engine 101. If you like these small engine videos or Hopefully it helps you out. I post weekly, a couple times a week technically, and hopefully I eventually can get to your machine and help you out, or if you just enjoy watching them, subscribe. Okay, have a good evening.